Unit 9. Tamper with. Someone seems to have tampered with the door lock. Scrape by. I'm out of work and scraping by on compensation. Tap into. Many companies are looking to tap into the growing Indian market. Level with. I asked the doctor to level with me. Boil down to. The relationship between businesses and customers boils down to trust. Crop up. Whenever I solve one problem, another one crops up. Take over. He decided to take over his father's business. Gloss over. He tried to gloss over his mistake by saying that he did his best. Pan out. The game panned out the way we expected. Drown out. The train noise drowned out his voice. Fork out. I wouldn't fork out tens of thousands of yen for a pair of jeans. Act up. My left knee that I had hurt last year acted up again.
Drift off. I drifted off during the boring lecture. Rub off on. His fighting spirit rubbed off on the rest of the team. Buckle down. I buckled down and started working on my thesis. Bow out. She bowed out of the presidential race. Egg A on. His friends egged him on to drink more. Bear down on. The enormous storm was bearing down on the city. Blow away. She blew her opponent away in the final. Harp on. He harped on about his good old days. Hold down. She has 3 children and holds down a full-time job. Head off. Scientists are seeking ways to head off global warming. Opt for. The election results show that voters opted for change. Mull over. I'm mulling over buying a new mountain bike.
Patch up. They went on a second honeymoon to patch up their marriage. Come down on. The teacher came down hard on him for sleeping in class. Fork over. He forked over $100 to get the lock fixed. Tack on. This CD has a bonus track tacked on at the end. Fall through. The plan fell through for lack of funds. Pin down. The police finally pinned down the cause of the fire. Bear out. Her theories are borne out by various facts. Lash out. She lashed out at the government for breaking promises. Reel off. She reeled off the titles of some novels she likes. Jockey for. Those companies are jockeying for smartphone users' growing attention. Bring up. I brought up the topic of marriage with her. Crack down on. The police are cracking down on computer crimes.
Shake off. I haven't been able to shake off a cold for a month. Farm out. The automaker farms out some of its business to its subsidiaries. Rope in. The police roped in experts from various fields for that investigation. Lay out. The report lays out the new project. Play up. The CEO played up the skyrocketing sales in the interview. Flare up. The fire flared up and enveloped the house in an instant. Fend off. He spent the whole interview fending off personal questions. Toy with. I've been toying with the idea of starting my own company. Throw out. I threw out my back trying to move the desk. Stumble upon. I stumbled upon a very interesting website by accident. Live down. I will never live down the embarrassing moment. Root out. The mayor promised to root out corruption.
Wolf down. The mother told her son not to wolf down his food. Dawn on. It dawned on me why he said so at that time. Make off with. The thief made off with everything of value. Let on. Please don't let on, you know that. Play havoc with. The storms played havoc with the transportation. Cop out. After all, you're just copping out. Pour over. I poured over the catalog and placed an order. Run up. He has run up a huge cell phone bill. Bog down. We got bogged down with a new project. Pitch in. Many volunteers pitched in to clean the beach. Kick up. He kicked up a fuss and left the band. Squeak by. The test was very hard, but I squeaked by.
Dole out. He doled out chocolate to the children. Barge through. She barged through the crowd to the center of the circle. Rifle through. The thief rifled through the drawer for valuables. Taper off. Home sales began to taper off. Piece together. They pieced a few clues together and discovered the truth. Rally around. People rallied around the new candidate. Tip off. Somebody must have tipped off the police about his whereabouts. Snap out of it. She helped me snap out of it. Horse around. They were horsing around while the teacher was away. Pluck up. I plucked up my courage and told him how I felt about him. Flesh out. We spent a year fleshing out the plan. Wipe out. Many villages were wiped out by the tsunami.
In retrospect. In retrospect, the decision they made was wrong. Bowl over. I was bowled over by their wonderful performance. Stamp out. The new mayor promised to stamp out crime. Wriggle out of. You cannot wriggle out of your responsibility. Pine for. These hot days make me pine for autumn. Zero in on. Researchers are zeroing in on the cause of the disease. Take off. His business took off and he was able to pay off his debts. Shell out. I had to shell out $500 to fix my car. Muscle in on. The large company muscled in on the market. Rip through. A giant hurricane ripped through my town. Fritter away. He frittered away his savings on gambling. Rail against. The employees railed against the decision to cut their salary.
Write off. The government decided to write off the debts of developing countries. Rip off. Shops in that area are infamous for ripping off tourists. Mill about. Some students are milling about in the corridor. Iron out. We met to iron out some details. Rustle up. The mother rustled up an omelet for her child. Sort out. We managed to sort out all our problems. Hunker down. The residents hunkered down for the storm in the shelter. Haul off. He was hauled off to the police station for questioning. Lean on. The politician leaned on the author not to publish the book. Blot out. The thick fog blotted out the beautiful landscape. Factor in. Buying online can be expensive when you factor in shipping costs. Breeze in. She breezed in and took a seat in the front row.
Bank on. He is banking on his parents to pay off his debts. Ball out. The coach bawled me out for being late for training. Fall in with. She fell in with a bad crowd in her teens. Crank out. The rock singer is cranking out hit after hit. Beef up. The police beefed up security around the station. Bear the brunt of. Young people are bearing the brunt of recession. Come around. After the discussion, she came around and agreed with us. Clam up. The suspect clammed up about the incident. Rack up. He racked up debts and went into bankruptcy. Pass A off as B. The merchant passed the item off as a new one. Lap up. The media lapped up her story about the discovery. Shrug off. He shrugged off his doctor's advice and continued smoking.
Trump up. They trumped up an excuse to charge me with the accident. Pay off. We plan to pay off our mortgage in 5 years. Knuckle down. It's time for us to knuckle down to solving the problem. Clear up. I had a cold that wouldn't clear up. Pass on. This story has been passed on from one generation to another. Smooth over. I tried to smooth over their relationship. Rattle off. The girl can rattle off pie to 100 places. Fizzle out. The project fizzled out when the company went out of business. Wrap up. He started working on a new album after wrapping up a long tour. Hem in. His car was hemmed in by several police cars. Weed out. This law is aimed at weeding out illegal immigrants. Fend for oneself. The flood victims had to fend for themselves.
Weigh in. Both fighters weighed in at 130 pounds. Bail out. The role of the IMF is to bail out countries in need. Crack up. Everybody cracked up when she told the joke. Back out. A big sponsor backed out, causing the event to be canceled. Own up. He owned up to having broken the glass. Take on. We can't afford to take on more staff. Shy away from. Most writers shy away from criticizing other writers. Play down. Some countries try to play down the impact of global warming. Drag on. As the war dragged on, more soldiers became homesick. Pull off. They were missing a player but still pulled off a win. Wear off. My initial enthusiasm wore off and I lost interest in soccer. Strike up. He struck up a conversation with a man while waiting for a bus.
Sleight of hand. She used a common sleight of hand to fool the public. Shoot for. You should shoot for 30 minutes of walking a day. Throw in. I bought a TV and they threw in a pair of speakers. Breakdown. She finally broke down and told the truth. Hole up. The robbers were reported to be holed up in the mountains. Squeeze in. The doctor squeezed me in during his lunch hour. Fire away. I'd like to ask you some questions. Fire away. Stem from. Misunderstandings often stem from a lack of information. Boot up. Nothing appears on the screen when I boot up my computer. Take up. The doctor advised him to take up some sports. In response to. In response to criticism, he issued a statement to the media. Thin out. You need to thin out some old branches.
Level off. The helicopter leveled off 50 meters above the ground. Snap off. The rope snapped off and he fell on his back. Scrape together. I scraped together the money for the trip. Hold out. I hope my luck holds out. Peter out. Public attention to the issue petered out. Sponge off. She got a job and stopped sponging off us. Ease off. After a night's sleep, the pain eased off a lot. Wash out. The stains on my shirt won't wash out. Glance off. The ball glanced off my glove and rolled to center field. Hinge on. Everything hinges on the results of the negotiations. Set up. I was set up and arrested for murder. Slip by. The deadline for the paper slipped by.
Soak up. This towel soaks up oil as well as water easily. Rake off. He was raking off profits from suppliers. Square up. I'll square up with you later. Pep up. Her songs always pep me up. Down the road. You never know what will happen 5 years down the road. Talk down. I've never heard him talk anyone down. Dote on. My mother dotes on her cats. Blare out. Music blared out in the CD store. Bundle up. Bundle up or you'll catch a cold. Show out. She kindly showed me out. Pack off. She packed her daughter off to school and went to work. Drone on. The lecturer droned on for hours.
Data file. Redefine. Re-engineer. Re-evaluate. Refill. Reintegration. Reissue. Remap. Remodel. Rerun. Reshape. Resurface. Reunification. Unaffected. Unavoidable. Unaware. Uncover. Uncomfortable. Unconsciously. Unemployed. Unfamiliar. Unfit. Unimmunized. Uninstitutional. Unintended. Unintentionally. Unnoticed. Unrealistic. Unrelated. Unreliable. Unsold. Unsuitable. Subconscious. Subcontinent. Submarine. Subordinate. Subservient. Underestimate. Undergraduate. Underground. Underlie. Underline. Understaffed. Undertone. Undervalue. Underweight. Accessible. Ascertainable. Affordable. Audible. Unit